So approximately about a year ago, I was 3 months into teaching when I decided to write a Facebook post that went viral for a couple of months. It was a confession of me crying in the teacher's toilet after invigilating a history exam in school. So thousands of shares and 839 friend requests later, the second most common question I get when I meet people other than why do you teach is that you're that toilet teacher, right? So yeah, I am that toilet teacher. To those who know me, I am not that emotional of a person. I don't keep things for sentimental values. I scoff at tragic romance. I grew up in a family where 4 of my siblings are all medical doctors. I was raised by parents who happen to be both doctors as well. I chose to pursue Actuarial Science, 2 words which none of my family members would ever put together if it wasn't for me. So I had this rebellious and detached front that I have been developing since I was young. And it has been slowly being chipped away since I started teaching. So the times that I have shed tears for my kids were not because my kids were incapable of learning. It wasn't because that they do not realize the gravity of their actions and the words they choose to communicate. I cry because none of it was their fault. So them failing, falling behind in academics or not having basic morals, none of it is their fault. When you take the time to really look at them, mute the crude words that come out of their mouth, you would see that they are scared 15, 16, 17-year-olds who doesn't know any better, who never had the opportunity to have people to guide them to a better path. So I cry because I grew up meeting hundreds of people who changed my path. And I know thousands of other people who are on the same path as I am. So I cry because I was thinking, how can life be so unfair to these young kids? So I consciously chose to commit the rookie mistake of wanting to save them all. I consciously chose to be in the Messiah complex. I took in as many kids as I could, teach them every single night in my small living room for a whole year. If only I could get, in my head I was thinking, if only I could get enough successful Malaysians to each adopt one child of mine, then we would solve the problem. Because I'm in school, and I know for a fact that it's not the money, it's not better system, it's not tables and chairs, although it would be great to have tables and chairs in our classes. It's not just lip service investment. I thought the solution for this was you and I. I thought we were the solution. So I waited for a troop of supermen to come from the city and come save my kids. I waited and waited and waited. None came. So little did I know though that the troop of supermen were actually right in front of my eyes all along, coming to my small living room every single night for a whole year for extra classes. For a whole year, I didn't realize that I was training future superheroes. So when I found out that the community hall in the flat I was living in was available for me to use, I jumped on it. The kids can no longer wait for this Superman from the city to come save us, right? They must be empowered and take accountability for their own learning. They needed to be taught the ultimate lesson of life, not to wait for people to offer you a fish, but know how to fish yourself. So who knows the community better other than the very kids who grew up in it, right? Who better could save the community than the future that comes up from the community itself? So I wrote proposals after proposals. I came up with operating models after operating models. How best could this be done without relying too much on the public? So I sent out 15 invitation letters. I sent out 15 invitation letters to 15 kids that I thought would be interested to come to this hall every night, right? On the first opening night, 30 eager kids showed up. I didn't know I could reach out to so many kids without actually having to be in school. Right? And then second night, 45 came. I got really excited at this point because primary school kids started to show up and asking me to be taught, like teacher, can you please teach us? And they're like the most adorable kids you would ever meet in your life. So, but on the third night, however, I was completely blown away. 126 kids showed up at the hall that night, and there was only myself and David Chuck over there. And we were both like, oh crap. Right? But one thing I learned about being a teacher is the ultimate lesson is not to panic in front of the kids. So I just stared there and like 126 kids. And like my secondary school kids came up to me and said, teacher, what are you going to do? What are you going to do now? So I huddled them up and I said, kids, come. So we were all huddling, right? And I was telling them our game plan. So this was our game plan. I paired them up and I said, go into the crowd, each one take 3 to 4 kids. I listed the things that they could teach without giving them any sample questions, just a brief outline of what their lessons should look like. We huddled closer and I said, you guys can do this. Go forth and teach. And like the superheroes that they secretly are, I quickly saw small groups forming on the floor. They took out their paper and pencils and started teaching. They made gestures, they gave out instructions, they put their hands on their hips and taught the young ones how to multiply. So they had kids sitting around them in a circle and had them raise their hands to answer questions. Do you know how hard it is for teachers to get the kids to participate in our public schools? These superheroes got the primary school kids engaged in less than 10 minutes. So at that moment, right? At that moment, I knew for sure how Blok A was going to be run. It was going to be run by the kids themselves, by the community heroes themselves, right? So, but I had to be smart. We had a lot of kids. I had to be creative with managing the big crowd. I gamified the whole thing and keep expectations at its height. Every session, we remind each other to try our best for the 2 hours that we have, not as individuals, but as collaborators of knowledge. I brought in volunteers, real-life scientists and engineers who were teaching them math, right? Today, I train my strongest 20 kids every Monday to be tutors to their peers. They each get a whiteboard and a tracker. They get just as frustrated as I do when their students couldn't get the things that they are teaching and would force their kids to focus. I'm going to repeat this one more time, right? And then they're kids. It's adorable to see these things. So Blok A is a peer tutoring center which runs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night, supporting students aged 7 to 17, hoping to create responsible and accountable citizens. We welcome volunteers who would like to supervise the study groups and give one-on-one tutoring to our aspiring ones. You know, superheroes are not born. That's what I believe. Superheroes are not born. They are nurtured. My kids may not have a cape flying through the sky trying to save the world, but they each carry a marker pen and a whiteboard, walking tall and proud, trying to change the world they live in for the better. So our kids are the future, ladies and gents. They say to leave a better Malaysia for the future. I think for sustainability purposes, we should leave a better future for Malaysia. Thank you.